At first glance, a job as a night zookeeper might seem fairly simple and easy. How hard could taking care of animals really be? Well, in Zoochosis, this job is far from simple, as animals are not the only things living inside this zoo. In this game, we play as Paul Conley. Paul was once a college student in Indiana where he studied chemical technology. However, this only lasted 6 months because he was kicked out within the first year. So now he works odd jobs to make ends meet. That being said, Paul is a family man, having a wife Lily and a daughter Gina. But his family is struggling financially, so Paul will do whatever he can to provide for his loved ones, even if it means taking a sketchy job as a night zookeeper at Pine Valley Zoo. Although this zoo has been closed for 2 years, but they continue to house animals as if they were open. This is odd, but the job pays $100,000, so how bad could it really be? The story opens with Paul signing a non-disclosure agreement, which catches him off guard. Why would a zoo want their employees to sign an NDA? It states that any information obtained during the employment is confidential, meaning anything Paul sees should not be shared with anyone during or after employment. It also states that should the event of any injury or death to the night zookeeper happen, the employer is not liable in any way. Continuing with how Paul agrees not to involve the police or any law enforcement agencies regarding anything they see or do within the Pine Valley Zoo. This is a huge red flag, but Paul signs anyways. You'll notice the other name is Oliver Metzger. He will be the boss during our employment, a seemingly nice guy to show us the ropes. However, we will learn his true sinister intentions soon enough. So after we sign, Oliver ensures us that we made the right move by working here. How soon enough, we will make it out of poverty. He then attaches a body camera to our chest and explains how the zoo's scientists require this to see everything that happens inside the zoo, which we question because why would a zoo have scientists? But Paul needs the money, so we ignore it. Following this, Oliver gives us our personal digital assistant. We will use this handheld device to interact with everything inside the zoo, like opening doors, receiving messages, managing our tasks, items, and notes. While congratulating us on becoming part of the zoo's family, Oliver injects Paul with a strange liquid. This liquid contains one of the parasites that are infesting this zoo. The infection from it will progressively get worse throughout the night. If we don't get cured, we'll become paralyzed and mutate. But Oliver injected us for a reason, and we'll talk about it more later on. The shock causes us to pass out, and we wake up inside the break room with Oliver sitting on a couch waiting for us. We ask him what he did, and he explains that working with animals requires prevention, how we wouldn't want to bring home some kind of infection, which is ironic considering he just infected us. Oliver continues with how he took our phone, and we will get it back in the morning. Therefore, we assume we got the job. However, it will only be ours if we make it through the night. So it's time to get to work. Oliver begins showing us the ins and outs of the facility, how this specific area is the hub, the central location within the zoo that houses everything we might need. It includes the break room, food, and the train. While packing up the food, we hear a loud bang come from one of the doors behind us. Oliver tells us there is something in the works that we are not ready to know about yet. Rather, we need to start with the basics. That being said, he introduces us to the zoo's train. Katie, kinetic automated transport with innovative engineering. Katie is how we will venture around the zoo. It's equipped with a mobile veterinary station where we can mix medications for the animals in case they get sick. And it also includes a cutting machine used to portion the food, as well as parasite storage. So we load up the train and head over to our first task, the giraffes. From here, Oliver shows us how to take care of the animals and how to monitor their health. There are some quite rare specimens, and it's important that we keep them safe. So with each animal enclosure, we feed them, take their temperature, collect their feces, collect their blood, and test sound frequencies. After collecting, we scan the samples to figure out what exactly is wrong with each animal. After doing so, we make the medication and dark the sick ones to cure them. Simple and easy. So we head back to the hub, and before Before leaving, Oliver explains that if we perform well tonight, we will get rewarded with a fancy service car. He wishes us good luck and goes on his way. While alone, we hear our wife Lily outside the front door. She's worried, saying we've been gone for a while and it's weird how they locked us inside. But we ignore her, so finally, all alone, it's time to get to work. Our first task is taking care of the gorillas. However, on our way to the enclosure, we hear a phone call coming from a storage room. A lady named Linda is calling to ask about her husband, a scientist named Clarence J. Summers, or CJ. She is asking to see if he has his medication because he needs to take it regularly. She also tells us to look inside his locker and gives us the code. So we do just that, head over to CJ's locker and open it up. Inside, we find a floppy disk from CJ that unlocks the experimental drugs for the infected animals. This will be how we save them. After tending to the gorillas, we head back to the hub and pull the lever to bring out the meat that needs to be grinded up. However, a woman hanging upside down is brought out. Before we can do anything, Oliver calls us. We freak out on the phone about the woman's body. So Oliver tells us what's really going on, explaining how he infected us with a parasite that comes from a mysterious creature they call Mother. How she is locked away, but not much is known about her, so the scientists study her. This Mother has been spreading parasites all over the zoo. They infiltrate the animals, turning them into ravenous monsters, and they have specific tastes. Meat. After the phone call with Oliver, we decide to save the hanging girl instead, so we untie her and lay her on the couch. Eventually, the woman wakes up and is wearing clothes she found inside one of the lockers. She took the axe from the wall and began to try to break into one of the doors inside the break room. We tell her not to worry and introduce ourselves as the night zookeeper. She tells us her name is Sarah Watkins, an investigative journalist for Pine Valley. She can tell that we are sick and explains to us that we have been injected with some kind of parasite, but of course we already knew that, so we ask her how she knows about them. Unfortunately, journalists do not reveal their sources, so she neglects to tell us anything, but stresses that we don't have much time. Sarah wants to get the door open so she can gather evidence for the articles she's writing to expose the zoo. Now, if we clean out the biometric waste filter from the train, a human hand falls out with an interesting tattoo. We bring this over to the biometric lock on the door and scan the hand. This works and the door unlocks. We head downstairs to learn more about the truth behind what's going on. While down here, we learn that Oliver is a doctor having many different science degrees. He is the head honcho for the zoo, the boss, and likely the owner. Sarah sits down at the computer and we give her CJ's floppy disk that we found in his locker. But there's a password needed to access it, meaning the two are at a dead end. So we take a look at the whiteboard and it reveals so much information about the parasite, the mother, and their origins. It's suggested that Mother may be over 8,000 years old and originated in or around Alaska. Mother had been frozen in the area, and in 1967, when an ice core was retrieved, she had thawed and began infecting any living organism she could find. Once the parasite is inside the host, it completely transforms it into a monster. There is even a photo of what a human looks like when they are fully infected. Truly something out of a nightmare. Following this, we learn about CJ. He was one of the decorated scientists at the zoo, and there is also a photo of him. This reveals the hand we used to get in was CJ. From here, we continue with more of our tasks, although on our way back to the hub, we get another call from Linda, CJ's wife. We break the news to her that we found his hand, and ask if she can call the police to tell them that us and Sarah Watkins are trapped inside. Although Linda reveals that CJ had been messing around with Sarah behind her back, meaning Sarah found out about the zoo because of CJ. Regardless, Linda gets upset and thinks the hand comment was just a prank, so she hangs up. Upon returning to the hub, we find Sarah standing in the break room. We confront her about CJ. She explains how she was hooking up with him in order to get information about the parasite, but instead, she got a bag over her head and a syringe in the arm. This tells us that CJ might not have been the nicest person, as he would rather put his work before his play, even if that means using them as food for the infected animals. So we tell Sarah about the floppy disk she put in the computer, how it was CJ's, meaning she can guess the password. While on the computer, Sarah plans to send us the poison formula so we can cure ourselves. But we get interrupted by a phone call. It's Oliver, and he threatens us for not doing as we were told, continuing on about how he injected us with the parasite to save us. It was the only thing keeping us alive when around the animals. Because we were infected, they saw us as one of their own. Oliver then tells us to grind up Sarah and meet him at the door to maybe keep our job. However, we don't attack her. Sarah explains that CJ had come up with a poison formula that could work on the mother. Since she's connected to all of the parasites, if we kill her, we kill them all. So Sarah sends us a special poison to make, although we need the blood of a female parasite. It's the key ingredient. Its pheromones disrupt the creature's regeneration and strips away its defenses. So we head back to the train and access the parasite storage. This is where we have been putting all of the parasites after getting them out of the animals. So we need to determine the correct parasite and squeeze it to collect its blood. With the correct female blood, we can craft poison for the mother. Sarah then gives us the injector that is used for the special poison. But only Oliver has access to the biometric lock on the mother's enclosure. On top of this, the mother has to take the poison with food, and the food must be alive to work. So we have a choice: to inject the poison into Sarah or ourselves. Of course, we choose to sacrifice ourselves. From here, we head to the mother's enclosure, but we are unable to inject ourselves because our infection has gotten so bad that it's about to paralyze us. So we leave it up to Sarah, but she decides not to inject us and wait for Oliver to arrive, meaning she plans to use him instead. Oliver finally shows up and finds us sitting next to mother's enclosure. He goes on to tell us about how he found our wife because she had reported to the police about our situation, how he has friends everywhere. This tells us that even the police know what's going on at the zoo and they're in on it. If anyone goes to them about it, Oliver takes them and turns them into food. This is what he did to our wife. She can be seen in a body bag on the floor. Oliver then opens the enclosure and Sarah sneaks up behind him, knocks him out and ejects him with the poison. Mother then drags Oliver away. Suddenly, Sarah grabs the body camera and quickly records the mother from her device. It's a massive, faceless Medusa-like creature with many tentacles and arms. We shut the door. Paul pukes up the parasite, which means mother has been taken down. Sarah and Paul exit the zoo as Paul begins to smash Oliver's car with the axe. With mother gone, Paul is cured and Sarah got her evidence. Following these horrific events, Paul returns to his daughter. It seems Paul and Sarah trauma bonded, as locals often see them together. The game ends here, so the simple job of a zookeeper ultimately turned into a nightmare. How do you guys feel about Zoochosis? It's so cool to finally play this game. The devs said there are 23 endings, so maybe I'll make another video explaining more in the future. I do plan on making a video talking about the infection and the mother creature in depth, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Regardless, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like horror game content like this, please consider subscribing. Also, if you want to support the channel more, you can become a member. Don't forget to follow my Twitter at TerrifiedT. Thanks for watching.